Good evening, everyone. How are you tonight? Thanks for joining us for our live. Tonight, I'm going to tell you a story of the Snowman. The name of the story is The Snowman. It's a summary of the original story, which was written by Raymond Briggs, right? Are you listening to the songs, the music here? I'm sorry I'm a little bit late because you know what? I was recording it from my personal account, Instagram account. Oh God, sorry. But now I'm here at Tea Time Official and I'm going to read for you, right? So I'm just waiting some minutes for everybody to come in. And if you don't know, this is a snowman, right? This one I bought in New York in 2010, I guess, of course, thinking of my children. And every year, this snowman is here in our house celebrating Christmas with us. So, hello everyone who is coming in. Thanks for joining us. I'm just waiting a little bit for people to join, and then I'm going to start, okay? How about you? Do you like Christmas? Do you like the seasons, the holiday season? I love it. I love this time of the year. You see the Christmas tree full of lights, and there I have a couple of Mickey and Minnie Mouse. They are all dressed in Christmas clothes. I'm going to stop the music a little bit, or either I might put it quietly, right? The background. So, let's start listening to the story. The name of the story is The Snowman. It was originally written by Raymond Briggs, as I told you before. It's a very, very famous story. And here is just a summary of it, okay? The official story is much richer. There are many other details, but I'd like to share with you a part of it, okay? So, when James woke up in the morning, it had already begun to snow. He could see the fresh snow fall through his bedroom window. James sprang out of his bed and quickly ran to his window. He gazed outside in amazement. As far as his eyes could travel, everything was covered by the blanket of snow. James quickly dressed out of his night clothes and ran downstairs in a hurry. Once he was downstairs, he ran into the kitchen and demanded his breakfast. James could not wait to go outside and play in the snow. As soon as his mother served the breakfast, James gobbled it all up in a hurry and went outside. But before James could run outside, his mother reminded him to dress properly. It was very cold outside. So James ran around his house collecting his coat, socks, gloves, and boots. James dashed outside into the garden with all the snow. As soon as he got dressed, he ran everywhere, leaving tiny footprints behind. He ran in circles. He was thoroughly enjoying the snow. Wherever he ran, his footprints followed him. After some time, James decided to make snowballs. He rolled them at his house. One of them happened to hit a window. For that, James received a terrifying glare from his mother that made him stop. So, he would make a snowman. He decided to make bigger snowballs and carve out his own snowman. So he rolled and rolled some snow, making a huge snowball. He rolled it around, gathering some more snow in it. By the time he was done rolling the snowball, it was already time for lunch. His mother came calling for him, and James sadly followed her inside. During lunch, all he could think about was about his snowman. He hurried with his lunch, and after that, he took a stool along with him. James started the rolling again. This time, he made a snowball which was a little smaller than the one before, which was to be the snowman's torso. Then another snowball was made, the smallest of all. It was to be the snowman's head. Then James ran inside and brought an old hat and a scarf from his mother. The old hat and the scarf suited his snowman perfectly well. James gave the snowman a tangerine nose and eyes of coal. He made the buttons with coal as well. And finally, James drew a mouth on his snowman. The snowman looked wonderful. By the time James was done with his snowman, it had already started to get dark. His mother came calling and James walked back inside sadly. James could not think of anything except his snowman. Soon it was bedtime and James was sent to his bedroom. That night sleep did not come easily. Suddenly, James woke late in the night. He sprang out of his bed and hurried to his window. He could see the snowman with his old hat and scarf. James decided to go outside. So he put on his coat and crept downstairs, noiselessly. Just when James was about to step outside, the clock struck 12. And then, through the door, James saw the snowman starting to move. The snowman was alive. James ran outside that very moment. He had never been so happy. James happily danced around the snowman and invited the snowman inside. So they went inside. The snowman was amazed at everything. Once they were inside, James took the snowman to the Christmas tree by the television. James also flipped the switch and the tree began glowing with bright colors. Then they went to the parents' room. There, the snowman put on some of James' mother's makeup. That made James laugh a lot. Then James opened his father's wardrobe. He also helped the snowman put on some of his father's clothes. How funny the snowman was! Soon they got bored of trying new clothes, and James helped the snowman out of his father's clothes, and then they silently crept through the house to James' room. There they danced and laughed and had a merry time. The snowman walked to the window and decided that they should go outside to play. So they ran outside quietly. And they played in the snow. They made snowballs and threw them at each other. James laughed happily. They went into the garage and then the snowman found something very exciting. They uncovered James' father's motorcycle. It even had the key in it. There was nothing to the side. Off they went through the cold winter night with the snowman in the driver's seat. James felt the cold air brushing through his hair, freezing his face and nose. It was a wonderful experience. They rode past some pigeons. The pigeons flew away with fright, of course. Through the woods nearby, they chased the little fox. They went around, driving through the roads for some time before they decided to return home. When James and the snowman returned, James did not know what else they could do now. While James was thinking, the snowman suddenly grabbed James' hand and then he started running. At first, The snowman ran slow, and then he started going faster and faster and faster, and before James knew it, they were flying. The snowman and James took off, flying higher and higher. They flew so high up that everything below them seemed tiny. All the snowmen, with their carrot noses, watched them fly by. A little girl, who could not fall asleep, saw the snowman and James flying by her window. She could barely believe her eyes. Soon they reached the pier. They flew above it. James watched the toy-sized ships fade away. The wind made his hair fly. The snowman's scarf fluttered. They flew over the peaceful ocean. They were bound for the North Pole to see Santa. While flying, they saw a whale, and soon they reached their destination. Everything was covered under a thick snow blanket. The snowman slowly descended along with James. They walked through the dark woods and the snow-covered pine trees. Finally, James came to a clearing. He saw a crowded up ahead, a crowd of snowmen. There were small snowmen and big snowmen and thin snowmen and tall snowmen. All kinds of snowmen had gathered together. None of them were the same. When they saw James and his snowman approach, they moved aside, giving him space to move forward. James was awestruck. He had never seen a snowman walk before. He had never been to the North Pole. And in the middle of the dense crowd stood a small round man covered in fur and with rosy cheeks. Santa! He welcomed James with a warm smile and a loving hug. James' eyes sparkled with joy. Soon, Santa led James to a party. All the snowmen were there. It was beautifully decorated with dazzling lights. The tables full of food and drinks. This was the happiest and the most wonderful place. Then, with one signal from Santa, the snowmen started playing their musical instrument. In no time, the place was filled with laughter and dancing snowmen. James danced along with them, giving a wide smile. All of them danced and ate till it was almost morning. The snowman nudged James, telling him it was time to leave. So, James took his leave, saying his goodbyes to the snowman and to Santa. But before James went back, Santa gave him a present. James did not waste a moment. Quickly unwrapping the present, he found a soft woolen scarf in it, with small snowmen printed all over it. James was extremely happy with the present. It was the best one. So he hugged Santa and took off with his snowman. They flew in the sky as they had before. Soon they were back in the garden. The snowman pushed James toward his home. James knew it was time to go to bed after his adventure. But he didn't want to go. He shook the snowman's hand and bid him goodbye. He didn't want to leave his snowman behind. The snowman waved at James with a smile on his face. Just when James was about to go inside and lock the door, he ran back to the snowman and hugged him for the last time. He had had the most wonderful adventure with his snowman. He would always remember this day. James waved at the snowman from his room one last time, and then he went to sleep. Next morning, James sprang out of his bed in a hurry. He grabbed his coat and ran downstairs as quickly as he could, putting on his coat as he climbed down the stairs. James ran outside without greeting his parents. His parents looked at each other with disbelief. They could not understand why their son was running outside the first thing in the morning. Outside, James shielded his eyes from the bright sunlight. He was running to his snowman, but he found none. The light had melted the snowman. A small heap of snow with the old hat and scarf along with the coals and the tangerine was all that was left of the snowman. In a great hurry, James searched his pockets. He was afraid he would not find his scarf, but it was in his coat. The small scarf was a reminder of the great night and his adventure with the snowman. The end. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I hope you like it. Bye.